Robert Whittaker and Dricus du Plessis has been announced for UFC 290 and is expected to be a title eliminator. But Mark and I are going to go over whether Rob Whittaker is always going to play second best to Israel Adesanya. But before we do that, if you're brand new here, make sure you subscribe. We have new videos every single week. So, Mark, let's get into it straight away. Are you even interested in seeing this fight?
I'm always interested in seeing Rob Whittaker fight, to be honest. It's probably up there, one of my favourites. I'm interested in seeing it, but I just think it's a little bit of a far reach to call du Plessis, put him in a title eliminator fight. It's just because he's on a win streak and it's someone fresh in the division, I think. What about you? What do you think?
I love seeing Whittaker fight. He's one of my absolute favourite fighters. But the issue is, I don't even see this fight being competitive. I think Robert Whittaker's just going to be a step ahead all the time, and I just don't think du Plessis is going to be able to compete. And I'm not interested in seeing a squash match. I want to see competitive fights, and I think this is poor matchmaking. And like you were saying before, should du Plessis even be moving towards that title shot? I don't think it's quite right.
Yeah, the actual fight itself, I think it's literally going to be like a lamb on a train track. To be honest with you, I think the skill level is going to be absolute apparent. I know Rob goes to decision quite a lot, and he even said that in his last fight, but I think Rob could even get a finish. I know it's wrong to be talking about predictions already, but I honestly don't think du Plessis is going to cause Rob any problems whatsoever.
No, I don't either. I don't think he's dynamic enough. I don't think he's skilled enough. I don't think his cardio is good enough. Though he has that, he did a nose operation now, and apparently he's got 80% more oxygen, whatever that means. It's total nonsense. He's going to be exactly the same.
I do not understand that, but I just don't get how a win over Darren Till, a decision win over Darren Till, and then a late stoppage, over an aged Derek Brunson. I'm not running over Brunson, by the way. Contests you up there for a title eliminator. It's literally just because he's on a bit of a win streak. That's it. Someone new. What is he, ranked 7th or something? So you're like, it does make sense in that way, but just to sort of throw him up there with the absolute one of the killers of the division, the second best guy, it just seems a little bit of a far stretch.
Yeah, I agree. I do not think Dricus deserves this shot at all. I think, like you were saying before, the problem is this division's now being run by Izzy's beaten through all the top contenders. Rob's beating all the top contenders as well. And then now you're just picking up the scraps. I'm just saying, right, who's available? Which guys are available to fight? And Dricus is very lucky that he's just found himself in that position. Do you think, though, if he does beat Rob, do you think he deserves a title shot after that?
I think anyone who beats Rob Whittaker deserves a title shot, to be honest. No matter if you're not even ranked, if you manage to get through Rob, I think, you've solidified yourself as the title in title contention, 100%. I'd like to have seen Dricus, like if they'd have made him against Jared Cannonier or someone like that first, another sort of well-known name before you get to Rob Whittaker, the Reaper sort of thing. Maybe I'm just a little fanboy, because I am, of Rob.
No, but you're right. I agree. I think we should have seen him fight someone like Jared Cannonier or Vettori or Paulo Costa, someone in that position, and then you step up and fight someone like Robert Whittaker. But, I think you're right. I think if he beats Whittaker, then he definitely deserves a title shot, but he doesn't deserve to fight Whittaker, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But do you think if Rob wins, do you think he deserves another title shot against Izzy, even though he's lost twice already?
He's dangerously close to that Max Holloway territory, isn't he? You've solidified yourself as the second best. And I don't know, the middleweight division's a kind of strange one, isn't it? Because, even though Alex has got a win over Israel, I think we've established that Israel is the all-around better fighter in MMA world anyway. But Rob getting close again, it's hard to deny him, to be honest. If that's the only way to go, I think they'd probably give him a trilogy. And if it's 3-0, then that's probably where they'll call it. You can't, there's no point in having a quadrilogy if it's already 3-0,
Yeah.
It just seems a bit forced, doesn't it? You can't fight forever until Rob wins.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. You can't keep fighting forever. But the issue is, I wonder if they will. I think Rob will deserve a title shot because he's just beating everyone. Who else is there? So he has to jump up and he has to get that title shot. But I don't think I actually agree with you with Izzy being the better MMA fighter. I actually think Rob Whittaker's actually the better MMA fighter. He's better well-rounded. He's eliminated people much quicker than Izzy has. He's done a better job of it. But the trouble is, even though he's better technically, Izzy's better than him. And he's just that, sometimes that matchmaking just is so difficult for someone, isn't it? But if Rob does lose, then what happens? Does he then just keep fighting all these same guys again and he just becomes a gatekeeper? And then what? So what? He beats all the contenders, stops everyone from getting a title shot, and then people who don't deserve a title shot are getting them anyway. So how's that all going to work? It's going to feel like the same with the featherweight division. You'll be getting these people are ranked 6 getting a title shot, which makes no sense.
Yeah, you don't want to fall too far down that hole, really, do you? I think if Rob does lose, I think it's a very small chance. I think people are just going to be calling out for a fight of him and Paulo Costa, the one that we was originally supposed to get, which, to be honest, I'm not that excited for it anyway. Like, Paulo isn't exactly active anyway, and I don't think he's done enough to get a shot against Whittaker, if I'm totally honest. A loss against Marvin Vettori, a win over an aged, knackered Luke Rockhold doesn't secure you a title shot, or a title eliminator shot, should I say. Just because he shares a few memes doesn't mean all of a sudden he's the guy now. I don't get this, because everyone went from absolutely hating him in the Izzy fight and in the Vettori fight to he's talking about secret juice, and now everyone thinks he's the best thing ever. You're like, yeah. I don't see it making any sense, but that's the only way I could see for the next steps for Rob if he does lose to Dricus.
Yeah, well, then that's a really difficult one. What if he loses to Dricus? I mean, that really sets a really weird position, doesn't it? Because then he's not the second best anymore, but he's beaten everyone else. But then if he loses to Dricus, that puts him in a really, really awkward position. I didn't even think about that. But what I want to know is, what happens if he wins? If he does beat Dricus and then he has the title eliminator with Izzy and then he beats Izzy, then what happens? I feel that's going to hold the division down even more, because surely that actually doesn't shake the division up, because Izzy's been such a dominant champion for such a long time. I know he lost to Alex Pereira, but he's beat everyone else and beat Alex Pereira. So then what? So he will then get another instant rematch, surely, and then that whole division just floating around waiting to see what happens.
Well, the strange thing is with middleweight, let's just presume that Rob beats Dricus, Rob beats Israel, for example. Alex has already gone up to 205. I think Israel's probably nearing the time when he'll probably go up to 205, not to chase Alex, but just for another challenge sort of thing, because he's wiped out everyone at middleweight. Then you look at the rest of the division, you're like, okay, well, who else is a contender for Rob? Cannonier, who he's already beat, an age Cannonier, Strickland, who is just not well-rounded enough for the top level guys, I don't think. Everyone else Rob has beat. So it seems as if you've got these powerhouses of Rob and Izzy in their prime, still fairly young compared to everyone else, that just they hands down beat everyone. So what the hell happens? Yeah. It's like they're just waiting for a new contender, like fresh blood. That's probably why there's so much hype around Plessis. As in, right, he's on a bit of a win streak. Get him in there quick just to mix up the division.
Yeah. Well, they do seem desperate for new contenders. And yeah, I didn't even think about that. If Rob does win, it actually doesn't shake the division up at all, does it? And then even if he beats Izzy again in like another rematch or whatever, it still keeps that division in a very difficult position, because you've then got Izzy as now the gatekeeper. So they're just going to swap over and they've beaten everyone else anyway. So I think maybe the only person who really might jazz this division up is if Khamzat Chimaev can come in and beat Paulo Costa, and then Khamzat can come up and really, really jazz that division up.
See, I'd welcome that. I would absolutely welcome that. I mean, middleweight is one of them divisions where obviously I'll tune into every fight, but there's not a lot of fights there where I'm like, I can't wait to see that one. I really hope this one happens, because most of them already happened. With the contenders that we've got right now, if Khamzat does come in and he beats Paulo, that'll really shake everything up. So I think that's maybe the change that we need. Help us, Khamzat Chimaev. You're our only hope.
Yeah. Well, I do actually have one more question for you, Max. So with the apparent title fight of Israel Adesanya next going to be in Sydney, do you think they're expecting Whittaker to win? Because why would you set up a big fight night or a big pay-per-view in Australia, and then you've got an African guy coming over to then fight this guy from New Zealand. It literally doesn't make sense, does it? You want these big Australian fighters on the card, so you want Volk to win and you want Rob Whittaker to win, aren't you, at 290?
100%. Well, when you've got as big a stars as Volk and Rob Whittaker, it's like the gearing towards that. You never want to say that, because Rob's gonna win, we'll just give him that shot in Sydney. But I can guarantee you, Dwayne, I'll be getting tickets. I'll be going to watch that. I watched it in Melbourne, so I'd like to see the third fight, the second rematch, if you will, of them both in Sydney. I think they're well and truly gearing for that, because I mean, imagine that hometown coming, because you can't really have, if for the main event you couldn't have, we've got Israel Adesanya versus Duplessis. That'll sell. But imagine the hometown feel. Everyone roared on the screen when I seen it before. It was just a promo for Rob. It was just walking backstage. You should have heard it. It was ridiculous, but guarantee I'd get tickets for that.
Yeah, definitely. You'd have to. That'd be such an exciting card when you've got Volk on there, Robert Whittaker. And I know Izzy's not Australian, but it's sort of like Australasia area, so he's still popular as well. You'll probably get what's his name? I don't remember his name. Jimmy effing Crew. I love that guy. You'll get him on and stuff. So there's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Chuck Tai to Ivasa in there. Chuck them all in there. And just have a good time.
The Australians are really big fan favourites. And, it's funny, isn't it? We're looking forward to a card that seems miles away. But I do think that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.